using the fullback, but they would use more tight ends. And they would often have 2 tight ends, even 3 tight end sets that they would run play action out of and get big plays. And now, of course, it doesn't hurt to have Julio Jones, but the Vikings also have 2 explosive wide receivers too. And I think that's what this is really about. I mean, they want to be able to run the ball effectively, so everything is not on Kirk Cousins' shoulders. And they know that Dalvin Cook has explosive run ability. And that's what Mike Zimmer has talked about over and over. It's not necessarily about getting those 3 or 4 yards in a cloud of dust or something like that. It's about the fact that Dalvin Cook, when he came back from his hamstring injury, set the high last year for the guy who ran the fastest all season long. You know, I mean, it's a special talent with the ball in his hands, and they want him to have it, and then run play action off of that. Historically, Kirk Cousins is one of the best from year to year in running play action, so why not use it more often? Last year, he ranked in, I think, the bottom half of the league in how often he used play action. And they said, well, that's just not good enough. So C.J. Ham plays a role in that. You know, I mean, there will be some times where he's going through a hole and running into a linebacker, but I think a lot more of it is just trying to get personnel advantages, trying to set up so opposing defenses have to respect your run game and have to pay attention to it in order to find holes in the defense. And you know, as a model, it really works in Kirk Cousins for 2016 when he threw for almost 5,000 yards. And I think it does work a lot in the NFL. I think what we're seeing is a split between teams who are trying to, like you mentioned with San Francisco, use bigger personnel to get the other team to put linebackers out there, or teams that are spreading it out. And last year, I think John DeFilippo wanted to spread it out, and they said, okay, that doesn't really work as well with Kirk Cousins, so let's go back to what worked with him before in 2016.
Yeah, and that did work in 2016 with Kirk Cousins, and we've kind of seen a sample size, and you know, we talk about preseason, you can take it whatever how you want. But I think you've seen a little sneak peek of what they're going to do, especially in the game in New Orleans, so we'll keep an eye on that. I want to get your thoughts here on Garrett Bradbury and Irv Smith throughout camp, practice, and I know it's one game and I know it's a small sample size, but give us a feel for what they should bring to the table this year.
Yeah, I think with Garrett Bradbury, what's hard to evaluate him is the fact that Linval Joseph has not been practicing against him, and I think that would have been a big help, but Joseph has been recovering from some off-season surgeries, things like that, and so he hasn't been able to go toe-to-toe. So Bradbury has mostly been really good in these practices. But, you know, once you get to the regular season in week 2, they've got some pretty tough competition. Actually, even in week 1, Grady Jarrett, and then, you know, you face Chicago and Akeem Hicks, and he ruined a couple of games for the Vikings offense last year, and that's when we're really going to know on Garrett Bradbury. I did think that his first drive, when I went back and looked at it, was really good. And the one thing that is a plus for asking him to step right in is that he's 24 years old. He's fully grown. I mean, this isn't like a kid we're talking about. He's a guy that I think is a very mature rookie. With Irv Smith, I would say that it might be wise to maybe not limit expectations. That might be too far, but maybe just temper them a little bit. I mean, when they draft Irv Smith, I think a lot of people thought, oh, wow, they can let Rudolph go and they can have this guy going down the field all the time. I mean, this is an incredibly difficult position in the NFL. It's nothing like it is in college. I mean, they talked about at draft time, well, he lined up in different spots, and that's a good thing. It sure is, but it's nowhere near as complex as it is in the NFL to play tight end. So, you know, I think that Smith right now is trying to just figure out what he's going to be able to do and when he's going to be able to rotate in. And if he ended up with something like 20 or 25 catches for the entire season, I think that would probably be okay. That if your expectations are much higher than that for a rookie tight end, you know, I would pull that back a little bit. And I would say it was also really important that they re-sign Kyle Rudolph because of the complexity of the position, and they need to have somebody reliable there, and we know exactly what Kyle Rudolph is.
We're here with Matt Coller from Score North. Let's get into this really quickly. When a wide receiver is a first-round pick without any injuries or off-the-field issues, and they have 56 catches for 517 yards and 1 touchdown, that would probably signal a disappointing rookie year, but that's what Laquon Treadwell has done over the last 3 years. Where do you rank him in terms of first-round busts in the last 10 years for this Vikings team? I'll read them to you really quickly because I was very interested to look at where he kind of compares here. And I kind of have him in the realm with Sharif Floyd in 2013, even though he was injured, Christian Ponder in 2011, and then can you say Cordero Patterson? I think the only reason why I'll let go of Cordero is because he was so effective on the special teams aspect. At least he brought something to the table. But where do you rank him in terms of first-round busts these last 10 years?
Yeah, I would not compare it to Cordero Patterson because I think that was malpractice by the Vikings and not necessarily Cordero Patterson's fault. Cordero can't run a route to save his life, but the other teams have now found ways to get him the football, especially New England last year, putting him in the backfield, running him on jet sweeps. And Mike Zimmer even said that they regretted not using him in different ways. And plus, like you said, he was not just a kick returner. He was one of the best kick returners of all time. Yeah. And it's funny how much that's changed because even when Patterson came into the league, he was getting 50 or 60 returns a year. Now returners at their most might get 20. And so he was bringing a pretty decent value to a team as a first-round draft pick. Laquon Treadwell has brought no value at all to this team. And, even Christian Ponder, you could say there were a handful of times where he won some games and played okay. And I can't say the same for Laquon Treadwell. I don't even think there's a single game that we could say, well, at least he had that one. I mean, if I'm wrong, tell me, but I can't think of a single game where we said, well, he showed flashes in that game. It's been 2 or 3 catches here, some drops, some wrong routes. It's just, I think that he's really struggled with the complexity of the NFL and getting the details down. And when it comes to being a route runner, that's something that I think you have to start working on the details of that when you're, in high school or something in order to be good in the NFL. And Laquon Treadwell said he didn't start working on it until he was actually in the NFL. And it just tells you how hard that position is to evaluate. It is a huge, huge bust, of course. But I do go back and say, look, at that time, everyone believed they needed a wide receiver. Everyone believed, all the draft people, all the draft write-ups that you'll read, NFL.com, all those things, they will all say he's a first-round pick, and it just didn't work out. And sometimes that's how it goes. And the Vikings just happen to get lucky and not have to rely on him at all because they have these 2 elite wide receivers. So I kind of look at it as one of those things where sometimes draft luck goes your way and sometimes it doesn't.
Never felt like Laquon really fit in either. Maybe just as an outsider, just, whenever they would show these games or these practices, it just never felt like he meshed with the wide receivers. Diggs and Thielen are obviously best friends and all that. I don't know. From the outside, it never looked like they all got along, but that's just me. All right, I wanted to play one game with you here, and I sent you it earlier. I hope you didn't cheat. I hope you didn't look these up. Because I've started to play this game on my other little podcast, and that is QB Cadence game, where I will basically sound off and give you a quarterback that, says his creative sayings during the cadence, and I'm gonna play you the first one. We've got 3 for you today, and you tell me what quarterback it is based on his voice or based on anything that you pick up here. All right, you ready?
Man, do I get some choices here? This could be hard.
This is going to be hard for you. This there's 3 here. I expect you, Matt Coller, to get at least 2 out of 3. Okay, so let's do this. Here we go.
Street. Dre. Red Polly. Blue poncho. Monday.
All right, that is the first one. That was one guy. You are allowed 1 repeat.
Okay, I'm going to guess that is Phillip Rivers.
Andrew Luck.
That
was a good. The more I think about it, that was a good guess, though.
Well, I guess Luck's voice sounds a little bit less like a prepubescent teenager when he's yelling.
Okay, all right, next one here. So 0 for 1 here for Matthew Coller. Number 2.
Hey, Wilson Hoosier. Hey, Elvis. Obama.
Now that was when he said the last one, I think this kind of went viral here. So let's see if you know this one.
Let's see. Well, I guess that tells me what era it is.
Yes. Yeah.
How about Aaron Rodgers?
Jared Goff.
Jared Goff.
Matthew Coller, struggling right now. I should give him a multiple choice. This last one, I'll give him multiple choice. We don't want him to go over three here in the Strom Sports Show.
Yeah, I think you should have gone multiple choice. I mean, this is hard to figure out, man.
Oh, 100%. 100%. All right, here we go. Last one here. This is very quickly.
Rex Ryan!
Okay, Rex Ryan, Green 18. Now, when I hear Green 18, I think of Brett Favre because that's what he used to say. But here's my three, and this is a current era here. You've got Russell Wilson, you've got Tom Brady, and you've got Andrew Luck again.
I'm going to go with Tom Brady because
there you go.
Give him problems. There
you go. Matt Coller. We'll insert a little drop for the cheers for him. All right, Matt, thank you so much for giving us the time today. Keep up the great work, and you can read Matt at scorenorth.com. And also catch him on Score North from 2 to 4 as he is the host of Purple Daily.
Thanks for having me, man.
All right, so for our fantasy gurus out there, for my listeners, and I know you're out there somewhere, it's time to get into it, and I'm very excited for this league this coming season because, first of all, I'm actually doing a Dynasty League. Instead of the traditional draft every year, what's going to happen and what we do in a Dynasty League, and me and my buddies have decided to make this transition is you draft, so the first year, so this is going to be my first year doing the Dynasty League. The first year, you draft like you would draft a normal, like a traditional fantasy draft. You get your guys, whatever it may be. But then after this year, you keep every one of your players, or you can cut them. And what you do next year is you draft the literal rookies. So, for example, if I was in a Dynasty League last year, this year, I would have the chance to get Kyler Murray, some of these other rookies, Jacob Jones, you get you follow what I'm saying right now. You draft the players from this year's draft for years to come. That's how it works. So every year after the first one, you draft rookies. Okay, so I'm very excited about that. And let's be honest, the first year in a Dynasty League, it's probably your most important one. Why is this different? Because instead of someone going out and getting someone like Tom Brady or drafting Drew Brees, you're not going to do that because Tom Brady and Drew Brees are very old and you have to expect that they've only got a couple more years left tops of football. So what you would do in this scenario, say get someone like a Jared Goff, like these younger guys, these Mahomes regardless would be a top pick, but maybe a guy like Kyler Murray, if you believe in him, that would be someone that you'd look out for and that you would take over someone like a Brady or a Brees. So I'm very excited for that. But let's get into it here because there's a couple Vikings here that I know a lot of people are high on. Let's begin with number 3 here. We'll go from 3 to 1. Okay, so number 3 on my list is the Vikings defense. They were top 5 in yards, passing yards allowed, and points allowed. Okay, but the one thing I think that a lot of Viking fans have complained about, including myself, is that they are always in the middle of the pack again when it comes to creating turnovers. And that's the way Zimmer coaches. He's always been like that. He's always been sort of conservative. He wants to basically kind of feel out a lot of these, feel out the game. Pretty much if you're going to score, you're going to score on us 15 plays kind of thing, 80 yards. He's not going to be the guy that takes these big risks and gives up these big plays. A lot of times you see these teams score, 4 plays, 44 yards type of thing. You're not going to see that with Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer is going to make you earn it. He's going to make you earn every point. And I just want to see him begin to be a little more creative. And at the end of the year, he did come out and say in an article that he's going to try things that the league has never seen before. And I've held him to this quote. I think a lot of people have forgotten about this. I have not. So I'm very excited to see what this all means, what Professor Zimmer is talking about here. But they need to create more turnovers, and I think they're going to have that ability. This year, they are going to be a top fantasy unit. Daniil Hunter, 14.5 sacks last year. Eric Kendricks, 108 tackles. Harrison Smith, 84 tackles and 3 interceptions. Here's what I like about this year's defense to prior. The schedule, okay? Look at and then we're talking fantasy strictly, okay? I think that this is going to be the year that Zimmer creates the most turnovers that we've seen through his tenure. Because you got to look at the quarterbacks the Vikings are going to play this year. Couple of big turnover guys. Number 1, they play Mitch Trubisky twice. You know my thoughts on Trubisky. He can't throw the ball to the left side. That's just a proven fact. I don't believe in the Bears. I don't believe in Trubisky.